Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday, man. Time flies. Let me just change the audio. I've got the audio is not here. Change the audio. Bang. Happy Thursday. It's been crazy. Sorry for being absent for so long, but it's been really busy over across Truth Network, Truflation, and Index.fun. Lots of new activities taking place, and yeah, lots of really exciting things coming on. So once again, I'm the founder and CEO of Truth Network by Truflation, and I'm here to share with you some of the insights in terms of what's taking place at a macroeconomic level, what's happening at Truflation and Truth Network, and then ultimately um, anything else. So today I'm really going to cover off what's going on with the government shutdown, with Truflation, all of the data that's come out around the labor data, as well as other economic insights. Some news around prediction markets, right? We saw Polymarket close $2 billion at a $9 billion valuation, making Shane now the self-made billionaire, right, at 27 years old. His goal was always to be the first billionaire and the youngest billionaire. So he has now achieved that. So congratulations to Shane. I remember when he wanted to do that before he was 20 years old. And that's when I backed him. So really happy to see. Actually, no, it was nearly 7 years ago when we first met. And he was so upset that he just passed. Somebody beat him to 20, and it was anyway. I'll never forget that moment. Either way, really exciting times ahead of us. And then what are we doing at Truth Network, right? Where is prediction markets going? What are some of the markets out there? What's the opportunity? And then ultimately, where's the market going? So that's what I'll cover off today. And also, a lot of you have been asking questions around the Truth token and some of the tokenomics. And I'll go into that as well because you've been asking, and I'll try to keep this all within 20 minutes as we've time framed, time stamped or time constrained these podcasts, as a lot of you have asked for them to be a bit shorter. Yeah, so we started off, obviously, one thing that we know, we always track truflation. So inflation is an important metric. And once again, the FOMC, follow us on Twitter if you're not doing that, because that's where you get a lot of the updates. And here you can see what some of the FOMC, they release their meetings, relieving what policy are debating behind these closed doors, right? We get a minute. There was a lawsuit, I don't know if you remember, where people tried to get in and have direct access into the meeting rooms versus having to wait, till they publish the minutes, which obviously get edited, streamlined down for our view. But if you follow us here, you can find a nice thread on Twitter. Follow Truflation, and then you'll get a nice thread of what all of that rising job risks, right? So we know that the BLS couldn't even calculate the number of jobs last year. All of a sudden, whoosh, 1 million jobs disappeared, and that went out there. And so here you can follow some of the details. I won't go into that because you can read it yourself, and you can follow us on the channels and get more of that update. Obviously, we've gone into day 8 of the shutdown. So where are these metrics going? What's happening? Can I still track the numbers, right? Day 8, we're actually in day 9 right now. We've got a inflation read coming up later this week. We've got an FOMC meeting coming up later this month. The inflation reads next week. So all of that's coming. Again, follow our podcasts. We're going to have a great guest coming to you. So stay tuned, follow up there. And we will be sharing more with you in terms of the insights, in terms of how we interpret the government's number, and especially given they're shut down, do we still need to do that? Do we need to predict where they're going to go? Why don't we just use Truflation as the true source of truth? That's really our goal. That's what we want to achieve. And we're getting there. We've got some really interesting projects that we will be announcing very soon in a realistic time frame. So it's going to be really exciting to see that happen. And stay tuned. Ultimately, I call it the financialization of the Truflation data. What does that mean? How do we allow you to trade on the Truflation metric? Or how do we autonomously or automate trading strategies based on Truflation data? A lot more to come on that. Stay tuned. And that is really exciting because that's where we are going to get real alpha and be able to trade on that. Yeah, but here, missed releases. So the government was supposed to announce these weekly jobless claims, didn't announce it. Employment report, didn't announce it. International trade of goods and services, didn't announce it. CPI, October 10th, no announcement. PPI, October 15th, retail sales 16th, GDP numbers. Let's see if they're still going to be shut down. But remember, the average time government was shut down was 7. I think it was the median is like 12 days or something. And yeah, the max is, I think, something like nearly 30 days. So what does that mean? Wow, if it's 30 days shutdown and the markets are booming as a result out of it, what does that mean? Are we happy when the government shuts down because there's less interference? What does that mean? The economy seems to like it and do pretty well out of that. But yeah, all of these are at risk, right? So these are coming out, data sets. What does that mean? And all the meanwhile, Truflation is still updating every single day, getting attested by the Truth Network. So a lot of that's coming to reality. So super exciting to see data blindness, not if you're a subscriber to Truflation. That's where you get the real data. So check that out. Yeah, and lots coming there. Yeah, and so you can see, another post that we did just interpreting our data a bit longer. We're definitely in a downward trend. You can see it's leaning downwards. In the last 2.5 years, it's been really trending downwards. After the sort of whole COVID spike, it's really come down, and it seems to be in this bandwidth. We've always said 3 is the new 2 for inflation, at least for the government, whilst we're holding out at 2%. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, I think the big thing right now is interest rates. Obviously, everybody's really interested in that component. Where's it going? How's it moving? That's what we are looking into. And we will be announcing some activity on what we think the interest rates are going. Obviously, it's going to come down. 4 out of the 7 seats need to vote. In one direction, there are 7 seats that actually are up for voting in the FOMC. And we are noticing that they're no longer always unanimous votes. And so let's see what the outcome is at the next meeting, whether it's going to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points. So that's what's coming right now. And we're seeing, prediction markets are out there taking bets. So are you betting? Have you bet? And have you put your money where you're thinking? And what's the beauty of this? It's really the fact that ultimately, prediction markets are here because that's where people put money, putting money where their mouth is. So people with an opinion are actually pooling and placing bets on where and what an outcome might look like. And so if we go to our poly market, have a look at what people are saying around inflation. So around interest rate decisions, 90% are sticking with a 25 basis points drop. If you look at 50 to only 2%. So what does let's say they do a 50 basis points and you put $10 in, you'll get a $430 return. So if you're bullish that they're going to drop more than 25 basis points, then that's the place to be. You get a nice return there. And then let's look at inflation. What are they saying on inflation, September inflation? Remember, in October, they announced the in September inflation number. You can see here 3%, 37, the general consensus. It goes up again, up to 3%. It's at 2.9 right now. And you can see on Truflation.com, what are they saying? Here you can see, now I don't know if you've seen a nice tag, and so you can get real-time startup data. Whoops, I want to just sign in. Why am I not in and getting to the indexes anymore? I have to sign back in. I'm not going to do that while you guys are here. Let's go to the Truflation index, and I can see I need to sign in. But here you can see the BLS is at 2.9, and it will go to 2.3%. So pretty interesting and exciting times ahead of us, where how much do we need the government? If all of this data is already available, isn't it more efficient if governments run independent and just focus and leverage third parties to do the data and manage the insights associated with that data? I don't know. One of the philosophies we have is, right now, as most of you know, we've launched the Truth Network. A lot of this data, oh, actually, why don't I just come here? You're not sharing my screen, so I'll just share my screen again so you can see what I'm looking at. Hang on 2 seconds. Here we go, Truflation. Now, obviously, I'm going to sign out quickly, sign in, so I can actually give you full visibility into what we're doing. There's a lot of new designs coming to the site. The platform is now becoming a lot more streamlined, and we are going to provide a lot more insights, and you can get it for free. You can get it for a basic subscription at like $20, and then you can get premium, and then you can get full on, all you can eat. But the more you are subscribing, the more features you get. But here you can see a new layout. You can see, you can favorite your watch lists. You can have exclusive reports here. So you'll be able to have a much better what's trending right now, Truflation. And remember, a lot of what we do is available on the Truth Network. So I come here to the Truth Network. You can see, oh, why is it not working? Huh. That's not good. Here, Truflation US Inflation Index. Here we go. So as you know, we share all the updates on our details here. We don't have, and you have all the breakdown in terms of how it's tracked once you go into it. I think if you've got installation, but actually right now you can see who's subscribing to it, what's in there, over by clicking onto here. You can see all the suppliers. Where was I going with that? But why don't we give all of this data, all of these compositions, all of the raw data sets, make this publicly available so that any investment institution or investment analyst can review the data, do their own calculations. So you don't need to depend that much on the Truflation calculator. You can work your own methodology around this. Our methodology has 12 different categories, which you can see here. It breaks it down. What are the categories? What's the weighting of those categories? So you can see that all here. And then you can ultimately look into this and see much more details associated. We will be sharing more details around this, right? So here in food and beverage, you see you've got food at home, food away from home. So I can just look at food at home, and I can see here how price of food at home has come down in the last months. But if I go over the 5-year, you can see this is just inflation. This doesn't look at the cost of foods. But one of the things that we've seen is the cost of food seems to be rising. as you can see over here, we saw a huge spike over here, and it's just flattened out the cost of increase of all the goods, right? So cheese, alcohol, groceries, dairy, produce, meat, you can see they're all growing. COVID, huge growth in cost of living. And that is ultimately equally a reflection of what we're seeing here when you see not only you can just take away food at home, have all of the inflation costs grew to 14% in the 2021 timeframe and has dropped since all the way down to like a 1.69%. But ultimately, it is still increasing year on year. But why don't we give all of this data to anybody that wants to calculate inflation, do their own prediction, and then be able to purchase and decide what they are willing to pay in terms of for treasuries, be it the 3 months, be it the 6, 5 year, be it the 10 year, 15 year, whatever you as a nation have in terms of treasury bills. And ultimately, the market will decide the yield. Where governments or Federal Reserves come to kick in is they take the role of overnight liquidity, making sure there's no capital crunch, making sure that there's liquidity overnight, and setting the rates overnight based on the actual market rates that are being defined by the various institutions bidding to buy treasury bills. And so that's sort of what we believe. That's what we're trying to promote. And let's see how the market reacts to that. We've had meetings with individuals around that, and that's gone down well, and maybe in some cases not so well. But anyway, that's really where we're trying to take Truflation and provide all of that to Truth Network, where you can see that. Well, a lot of you have been asking, how do we make money on Truth Network, right? And how does the utility kick in? And so we've been trying to share a lot of that. And let me share with you just some of our communication with some of the use cases that we've been developing, right? And so here our design team has taken a scrap whiteboard conversation between the dev teams at Truth Network, which is built by Truflation and using all the Truflation data to then provide some of the utility, right? In the middle here, you have the Truth Network. How does the Truth Network work with Truflation? How does it work with Nuon, which is the stablecoin, inflation protected stablecoin? And with index.fun. And so here you pay in truth, you receive attestation, and that's sort of how it all works. And then ultimately, the attestation receipts get then shared back with Truflation. Here, other examples in terms of how we tried to visualize this in the form of a triangle or a Y-shaped example instead of a simple, what would this be? I don't know what this would be, a fork in the road, roundabout type thing. And here we've now got a Y-shaped solution. Then the team further developed this into more of a flow, a diagram, and then ultimately tried to highlight some of the examples in a more complex fashion, taking it from the whiteboard. Designs here into visualizing it. How do we provide this? How do we share the revenue across all the different parties? Very bright colors. This is how it looks when we look at the source of data coming in and then sharing the source of data through Chainlink onto the various different blockchains. How does that work? In an announcement coming soon around how we work with data link and how attestation gets passed through. And here, finally, getting to a solution where ultimately you can see here that data providers, data consumers, and index creators share their contribution to a validator network. The validators receive truth and are providing attestation to data providers and consumers and index creators. Each time for each of those attestations, they pay in truth. The validator adds that truth to a vault, and that vault then pays out truths either to the Truth Network treasury, which then can be used to buy back and burn or distribute or whatever we want to do with that. And they do equally receive some of the rewards for their services acting as a validator. anyway, that's sort of largely what we will share more on how the utility of the Truth Network works, and that will be coming to you very soon. So we'll be sharing more about that, but that's actually being coded right now, and that's why we're trying to really build out the communication associated with that, so that we can share that better and give you a better picture of how that actually all works. So the other thing that we've been working on is trying to highlight and get a lot of what we're doing, and make that available for you. And so what we have been working on is making a lot of this available. Obviously, the distribution of our data matters. And so one of the announcements that we will be making, again, you're getting it here first. And so we're just sharing this because we think it's so big, and it's done, right? So we've done it, but we're working with our counterparties to get approvals, draft the announcement so that it can be reviewed, and then we can share this much bigger. But here, what we're trying to do and what we've announced, or will be announcing, is here. Where is it down? Is here. Let me share screen. Sorry, guys, you're gonna have to bear with me, and bit out of practice traveling so much, super jet lagged. So thanks for your patience on this. But here you can see we're now live on Bloomberg, right? So Truflation US index is available on Bloomberg. Just wanted to alert you that Truflation CPI is now available to Bloomberg clients. So here you go. Yeah, if you've got a Bloomberg terminal, let us know what you think. If you like it, it's now live. You can see it on Bloomberg. So really excited about that. And yeah, check it out. That is huge for increasing credibility and visibility for Truflation. It also is in times when the government shuts down, and I shared with you earlier all the things that it's closing down. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I'll be back next Tuesday. I'll be back with more details and a better structured schedule so that we can go through this appropriately, and I can share a lot more of what we're doing. Hopefully, we'll have some more announcements. I'll be able to share some other things around what we've been doing at Index.fun and how that has moved forward by leaps and bounds. So take it out. Enjoy. Hope you enjoy the weekend, and stay safe, buckled up. It's a wild market. And how much longer is the government going to stay shut down? What is your prediction? Let's see, shutdown. Let's actually just quickly before I go, when will the shutdown end? Here we go. Let's have a quick look at, again, our favorite site, Polymarket screen. Polymarket, when will the government shut down? Here you go. It is forecast to October 15th or later, October 10th to 14th, and 15th or later. So people think it's going to last much longer. Wow, there you go. Will it last to the end of the month? Let's see. And what we will be doing is this will resolve by the calendar September with the US Office of Personnel to highlight that. We want the Truth Network to confirm not necessarily this, but government related data, not necessarily when the government will shut down. We won't be doing that. That's really for others to work on. But yeah, stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this. Please smash the likes, subscribe. You get updates here. We'll be getting much more granular, and I'll walk you through a couple of presentations that we've been working on around what we're doing and what our roadmap looks like. So see you on Tuesday.